Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Andrew Moran, John Clark, Scott Cosenza, and Graham Noble. And this is The Conservative Five, an online TV production of Liberty Nation News. Recent college graduates are discovering that reality does, in fact, bite. Recent poll by Intelligent found that human resources managers aren't thrilled with the interview process of late. Complaints of entitlement, lack of work ethic, and motivation. Well, add that with expressions of offense when applicants are challenged over their skill set and experience. Well, that's made HR hesitant about bringing Gen Z into the workforce. Is this no big surprise? Oh, Scott Cosenza, as a Gen X, I doubt you took your mom to the first job interview. What's happened?
Well, just what you said right there. Almost 10% of these people are, according to this poll, taking parents to interviews. And I will say this, it's less of an indictment about Gen X than it is about recent college graduates. So I think we should actually focus on that because it's,
I just called you out for your station in life.
We're not talking about, I think people who are like welders or hairdressers are probably just fine if they're Gen Zers, right? It's the ones whose minds have been rotted. And if you think about how woke the colleges are, it's no surprise. These are participation trophy winners from day one who've been told that their feelings are what's most important, and that if they feel differently than facts indicate, the feelings should rule. That's sort of where the rot is, right? So my guess would be, I'd like to commission Andrew for a real economics paper on this. You could tease out, are the recent college graduates from community colleges and like small state schools less likely to exhibit this behavior? My thought is that they are. Basically, people who are paying for their own way through school, value that degree a little differently for future employment than kind of richer kids from, who've got parents footing their bill. But in any case, they bring their parents. They're not diligent. 33%, I think, said they're not diligent. They have poor hygiene. They're just all in. Not the best group. So yeah.
Well, and I guess they're using AI to do first rounds of interviews, like an open cattle call when there's just one person and 1,000 people applying. So they don't like that. They seem to be just offended. I mean, guys, just come on, jump in here because this is going to be a fun, open discussion.
I don't know if anyone saw it. I did an interview a couple of years ago for Swamponomics TV with a gentleman, Andrew Caprichetz. He's the CEO of Red Balloon. It's a self-described non-woke job board. And he made quite the revelation to me in our interview. And he was telling me they do a thing called the Freedom Economy Index, interview thousands of small businesses. And they found that employers are no longer interested in hiring university or college graduates. What they prefer to do is take young people off the street and just hire them and train them and try to mold them into, the industry, whatever sector that the company belongs to. Because they find that when they've hired college graduates or university graduates, young people, is that they're the troublemakers in the workplace, or they're the ones complaining about having to work long hours. They're the ones who participate in internal gossip. They do all these things that employers don't like. So they veer towards the high school graduates or non-high school graduates. Those are the people they're up for. At the same time, I'm old enough now as a millennial. I was born in 1988, and I'm old enough to remember how everyone complained about millennials. People still do that to this day without realizing that the oldest millennial is in his 40s. But everyone complains, saying, oh, millennials, they bring their parents to job interviews, and they're always on their phones, and they're always late. And I'm just thinking, and then I'm going back in time, and I'm looking at other articles over the years and novels, and people are doing the exact same thing, complaining about the young generation. So perhaps it's part of the human psyche just for the current generation to complain about the next one, and then the next one. Ancient Greek literature, you see the exact same thing of the philosophers complaining about the new generation. So I see on both sides.
Look what happened to them. Okay, maybe the
Well said.
It's a good criticism to have, Andrew.
Come on, Graham. I know you're biting to say something about this generation.
Well, it's so obvious. We all know the problem here, and it's been said already on this show and everywhere else is that they've been, they've been wrapped in cotton wool. They've been told they're special. They've been told that they deserve a safe space, and that words of violence, and you can't question people nowadays. You can't questioning their abilities. That's probably racist or something like that. I think part of the problem is also, look, the pandemic. I'm back at the pandemic again, because that did so much damage. And I'm not talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about every other aspect of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic was devastating for our economy, our culture, our way of life, and all this work from home nonsense where everyone was working remotely. People got used to it. People got used to literally not going to work. And now what? You're telling me that I've got to, travel to the office 5 days a week? That's inhuman. How can you ask me to do that? So, and I think that's what it is, because I think a lot of these companies now have gone back to this. We're having people come back into the office and work, and I believe that's how they should do it. People are just not used to that anymore, and they're just not used to being challenged. And I think they need to all learn a hard lesson, and that is, okay, if you can't find a job, good luck to you. And maybe after a few years of that, sitting around the house playing video games but not earning any money, maybe they'll wise up and
go in the military and get some.
I think the lesson that's going to be learned is out of the colleges, who are going to see reduced enrollments and increased bankruptcies. As
well, that too.
I think it's a lagging indicator, these enrollments of the job that they're doing, and it's going to collapse. I think in my lifetime. Well, assuming I have the actuarial tables are favor me. That they will collapse massively. I think we're going to see, like, if you could short sell colleges and universities right now, I would be a massive short on them for the midterm or long term, because they are just so full of rot. Why would anybody spending their own money looking at the value proposition there? I was looking at
parents do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be prestigious to say, my kid's at Harvard, but now it's like, well,
that's the reason why that there is that economic benefit of, like, saying they have the degree, and also the social thing. Maybe you'll meet the right people and get the right job, but that's less and less. Andrew, you reminded me of the scene in Untouchables.
We need a recruit for extended duty now.
You got all these corrupt cops. They got to go to the academy and get one fresh off the vine, because it's all rotten. So same idea.
All right, John Clark.
Can I just say one thing to Graham?
Hurry up.
Graham, I assure you, I've never been called special in my life, unless it's in a derogatory manner.
Okay.
So, actually tying together everything all of you said, I think we're all in agreement here. I think it has been throughout time that we may have criticized the young who are soft. I think what's changed is there's a larger proportion of them, and I think Scott is dead on with where they're coming from. What I found through my life, and I was raised by a Marine, and I'm a farmer, and my kids are raised to work 365 days a year, often for below minimum wage, no matter what the weather, and even if you're sick and there's no unemployment and there's no disability, and you have to take care of the animals, all right? So I'm a little...
Got to feed the horses.
But when I practiced law, I had people come to me from the local college to work, and I learned this maybe the hard way. If they had a resume and they had not had a job in life, they were already toast. Okay, so what Scott says is true, that if you don't raise your children, each generation wants their children to have it easier than they did, but ultimately to deprive your children of a work ethic because you want to make it easier for them, you might as well deprive them of a toothbrush because you don't want them to have to go through the arduous task of brushing them. You can replace their teeth more easily than you can replace their slovenly lack of appreciation. And in fact, it's circular, because what we know from psychology is that people take work and being productive as a foundation of everything else in life. And if you just give them a universal income, they're just going to turn into obese, TV watching, screen addicted, anxious people. And that's what we seem to have a generation of. And I have to kind of chime in a little bit in tangent with Graham that DEI and the social justice movement has made the workplace a nightmare for employers. Everybody whines, oh, you're being racist. Oh, I mean, I'm aware of a local hospital right now here in Vermont where They don't have merit pay. You all get the same raise. So guess what? A lot of people call in sick all the time. There's no consequence for that. And you can't criticize anybody. Oh, we have people that have mental illness that are on the ward taking care of patients. Oh, well, we have to coddle them because they're mentally ill and we can't be ableist. We have turned Martin Luther King merit on its head, and now we reward people for anything but. And that's my rant.
I don't know. You know, when I went to college, I did not have an instructor. I had one throw an eraser at me because I was kind of dozing off. But, you know, they were
You were
not
a racerist.
toddlers. They, they said basically, good luck, you know? If you've got your degree, good luck. Go find a job. I mean, we weren't indoctrinated that I noticed.
I think the one other thing to consider here is social media. The way social media has taken the lives, particularly of younger people. You see now, some of these Gen Zers is what they're saying is, you mean I have got to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday? When am I going to get the time to create my online content and to watch the online content that my friends are creating? When am I going to have the time to do that? I want to be an influencer. I want to be an influencer and get rich. How am I going to do that if I'm working full time?
You know, there's another component of that I find fascinating, which is so much of their lives are in that phone and not out in the world like it was for all of us when we were that age, late teens, early 20s. Maybe they don't need as much. Like literally, how much does it cost to get a new phone? As long as they can keep affording the latest new phone, if that's where their lives are, maybe that's, you know, that's working for them.
I think that's an insight, Scott. That's also pretty freaking scary.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Studies show not.
All right, guys. I'm sorry, Clara. You get the last word, then we gotta head out.
Well, I just say studies show Instagram, Twitter, TikTok are causing mental illness in the young, especially, and addiction. So it's not a pretty picture if they live there, because it's making them dysfunctional for society. And they're going to be the ones taking care of us when we're in the geriatric.
No, they're
Gen Z phase. No.
Yeah, I
They're
already
not
got
gonna
my
save
baby
you.
cousin lined out for that. She's amazing. She gets all of my stuff. Okay, you know, I've got a message for Gen Z. Don't give up. We can't afford to keep you in the basement without an income. So until you land the job, your whole job is to keep looking for a job every day. Thanks to my panel of folks from a certain age. Thanks for tuning in. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all as well. Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Now, Liberty Nation does not endorse candidates, campaigns, or legislation, and this presentation is no endorsement. We'd like to take a moment for a shout out to our board's producer, Laura Valkovic, who's on maternity leave, bringing in another member of Liberty Nation News into the fold. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for the latest news and commentary. Your choice for free thinking, free speech, libertynation.com.